And it's a good afternoon and welcome to You and Your Business with me, Alec, on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Each week, I invite an expert from the world of business to share their knowledge, insights and tips to help you with your business challenges. If there's a topic you would like covered, or if you feel you can make a contribution, please email me at yourbusiness@dublincityfm.ie and perhaps we'll be out here one day soon. I'm delighted to be welcoming back our guest, Rebecca Bonnington, for a fantastic interview we had, which started last week. For those of you who weren't familiar, you can pick up that story. But Rebecca is CEO and founder of Tricres, has spent more than 25 years in professional services, and is a licensed trainer in NLP and endorsed by its co-creator. I'm delighted to welcome you back, Rebecca, to pick up the story where we left off, which, my goodness, was a very strong story.
Hi, Alec. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What a
Good.
great story. And, I think you've shown many facets of life and what we're talking about, a modern day world resilience, which I think is so
Mm,
important that people need to understand. We picked up, you were on the cusp of just finishing your married relations
yeah.
and about to embark on a new career. Would you like to pick up the story from there?
Yeah, sure. So it took me 3 years to divorce my ex-husband. And the catalyst was I went on an NLP course in 2006, October 2006, 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, I was no longer afraid of him.
Right.
And we still weren't divorced. And my solicitor said that, this is the most unreasonable person I've ever dealt with. And he'd been asking me so he'd already had most of the marital assets,
Okay.
£175,000 of cash and assets, and I had 35.
Wow.
He was coming after me for another £135,000, half my business, which he said he wouldn't do.
Hmm.
And within a week of learning NLP, I asked him a question that I'd learned on the course. And within 24 hours, we were divorced. The papers were signed and I had to give him £5,000 and that was it. And that was the switch for me. I thought, I'm now in control of my thinking, of my actions and of my outcomes. And from there, whilst my recruitment business unraveled, my heart had gone out of it. I was running it with my brother. My brother had left. I knew that life was going to be okay. I met a new partner. He's a brilliant stepdad to my older kids.
Yeah.
I was on a new path.
We're all hanging on. Are you going to share that question you asked him?
Yes. The question was, for what purpose are you doing this?
All right.
And it seems like a really innocuous question, but it created, and anybody who studies NLP will know, it created what is called a pattern interrupt. So his pattern was to berate me
All right.
and have a go at me. And I interrupted the pattern by going, for what purpose are you doing this? And it's really, it's not why, it's for what purpose. And he couldn't answer and he put the phone down.
Right.
And I left it. And he phoned the next day and went, I'll settle for 10. I said, I'll give you 5, but you have to sign today. And he did. And it was a change of my state in that I was no longer afraid. And he must have sensed that.
Right. Okay.
And the question. Yeah, I think the two things definitely created that shift.
And the control had shifted balance.
Yeah, and he never bothered me again. I mean, he'd been sending me abusive messages and all kinds of things, and he never bothered me again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as you said, such an innocuous question, but obviously, as you said, with your love of English and reading, the power of language, if we just know how to use it correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're heading towards one of the great one of the great times of the 21st century. We talked about the crash of 2008. A lot of things were coinciding for you there. Tell our audience about what was going on.
Oh my goodness me. So I'd fallen out of love with recruitment. My brother had left the business and I I'd franchised it in 2007, 2008, and we'd done okay, and we'd sold 7 franchises. I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and the banks collapsed in November 2008, and I
Right.
was 8 months pregnant. And I said
Great
to my,
time, great timing,
oh,
Rebecca.
it's just classic. And I said to my business partner, I said, one, ethically, I can't sell any more franchises because the market's just been, there was tumbleweed going down the street. It was just horrendous. And 2, I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally and physically exhausted. I can't do this anymore. Let's close the doors and walk away before they're closed on us.
Right.
And so we did. We wound the business up. Anybody who had franchise, we just said, look, take the database, to set up on your own, on you go. And a couple of people did and did very well, which is great. But yeah, and I took 6 months off with my new baby to reevaluate my career.
A good thing to do after all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, what was going to happen? And also, you were having some health issues as well, or was that around that time?
Well, that was so I forgot to mention, Alec, actually, the week I left my husband in 2003, my 33rd birthday, was the same week I discovered I had skin cancer.
Wow.
And they caught it in time, which was great, and it was all removed, everything was fine. But again, I look back and my spiritual side says there was no coincidence that I cut 2 cancers out my life in 1 week.
Right.
I don't
That's
think
a
that
good
was
way
a
of putting it, all right.
coincidence. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, no health issues, touch wood, since then.
Fantastic. And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my studio guest today is Rebecca Bonnington, and it's part 2 of a 2-part interview, part 1 being last week. All right. So the crash has come, the business has been wound up. What next for Rebecca? You've taken 6 months out to reevaluate life in every sense.
Yeah, definitely. So I started looking into being a social worker or a teacher, and ruled that out. I'm not very good with red tape and rules. Plus I didn't like the pay. So I thought, right, by that time I'd done my master practitioner in NLP, which gives you a whole host of techniques, questioning techniques, and the ability to, excuse me, get to the heart of a problem really quickly. And I thought, right, well, I'll set myself up as a coach. This seems to be a thing.
Right.
And I subsequently got my licensed trainer of NLP. So I train other people in practitioner and master practitioner now. And I got a master's degree in coaching as well, because I thought, yeah, I need an official piece of paper here too. So yeah, and I just started working, coaching people for free in charities, and then built the practice up from there.
Can we talk a bit about NLP? Because it's bandied around by so many people. And I think for a lot of business people, they see it part as the hippy dippy offerings that are out there.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a lot more to it. And again, as you said, being endorsed by its co-creator places you ahead of many others. So maybe you'll give us your thoughts and experience about it and how it can help.
Yeah, so it's experiential. You can't learn it from a book or a video. You have to be in the room. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is that in terms of helping business leaders, it organizes your thoughts and it enables you to remain in a state that gives you the opportunity to make better decisions, get to the heart of the problem faster, understand the range of communication that you're experiencing amongst your team, amongst suppliers, amongst clients, really, really quickly.
Right.
So I've taken, it's a 7-day course, and I've taken business leaders through, and they start off going, oh, they've got their head in their hands, they don't know which way to turn. And by the end of the week, they're like, right, I've got it, I'm on it, I know what I'm doing. And it continues. So, I messaged somebody on LinkedIn yesterday. She's just got her dream job.
All right.
she did NLP with me 5 years ago, and I've watched her trajectory, and it's absolutely fantastic. Because you take control of this, your head, and your state. And once you've taken control of that, you are then in control of the outcomes and how you react to the outcomes.
Right. And in terms of, you're talking about you have to be in the room, you've mentioned you run a course there. Does this mean everybody has to go and live with you for a week, or how do you do all that?
God help them, no. No, I run it in Edinburgh. We have a very nice space that we use, and they get to stay in lovely Edinburgh for 7 days. And boy, do we have a laugh. I mean, the underlying attitude of NLP is curiosity and humor, and we approach it with a sense of experimentation, curiosity, and a lot of humor, a huge amount of humor.
Well, why not?
Yeah,
we all need a sense of humor in this world.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, we do.
So the expectation of somebody on this week course to come out of it, at the very minimum, what will they leave with?
At the very minimum, they will feel 100% better. They will feel more relaxed. They will feel happier, more content. They will make better decisions. The beautiful thing is that it generalizes throughout your life. So relationships improve, health improves, everything improves. It doesn't mean to say bad things don't happen. Of course they do. But you deal with it so much better, and you don't, if you get stuck, you don't stay stuck for long.
That's great. And for people who want to find out more about that, where can they do so?
So if you go to tricres.com, TRICRES, the next one we're running is the 1st of February in Edinburgh. So yeah, I'm selling place. I only take 12 people as well, because I like a small group, so that everybody gets my personal attention, and we just knock off those problems one by one. So when they come out, they are just new, shiny human beings.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your business, because we've gone through your whole life and there's been very many challenges, as so many people have. But again, resilience is part of, being a better person. So you have NLP, but then you decided to go out on your own. Let's talk about your business and what motivated you to do it and how you help people more.
Yeah, so the early days of my coaching and training business was about leadership. And I had learned how to be a good leader through trial and error, and through talking to other really good leaders, actually, and asking what they did. And I realized that leadership it is just crucial to every aspect of business. It's crucial to attracting and retaining great people, to innovation, to growth, to everything. And it's often seen as a nice to have, which really confuses me, because it's essential. Unless you can lead and manage and communicate well, your business is going to struggle. You'll do okay, definitely, and you'll make money, but you'll do so much better as a better leader, and feel better as well. And so, yeah, I was kind of out on my own for 9 years. And then I joined forces with my brother in 2018, because I realized the route to this was through, it's really hard, Alec, when you go to a business and you go, look, you as the leader could benefit from coaching.
Yes.
The leader says, no, it's everybody else.
Yes.
And you go, no, it's definitely you. But that's a hard to sell. Yeah.
It's an interesting observation that de facto people who set up a business become the owner and CEO of that business, but obviously feel as if they know everything then.
No, they don't. And that was my biggest lesson of running my recruitment business, is that I didn't know everything at all. Yeah, so I realized that actually going to talk to business owners and talk about their business and coaching their business was an easier sell and an easier conversation. But of course, by stint of coaching the business, you end up coaching them. So everybody's a winner.
And what is the resistance? Is it a vulnerability or something like that that they have that stops them investing in themselves? They don't see it as an investment in themselves.
It's exactly that, Alec, is that, I mean, the Americans are really good at this. The Americans, well, one, they all have therapists, so they're used to investing in themselves. And
Right.
two, they understand the value of coaching. Here in the UK, it's getting a lot better, loads better, in fact. But again, a lot of business leaders think it's a luxury. I don't need to tell you, if you want to be good at anything, you need support and an external perspective to get even better. There's not a single elite athlete on the planet who doesn't have at least 2 coaches.
Yes.
Why is it any different for business leaders? If you're going to be really good at what you do, get a coach.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where we're having part 2 of a conversation with Rebecca Bonnington. Part 1 was last week. We're just talking about the value of external coaches. As you said, I mean, the evidence is out there all the time. Every top athlete has at least 2 coaches.
Yep.
So why don't business leaders follow that? Because there's so many of them. I'm not a golf fan, but anyway, so many of them follow golf, so at least you think they'd know that much.
Yeah, definitely. I think some business leaders see it as a luxury, or they don't have time, or they think it's a bit self-indulgent. But I've developed a leadership program, and the key model of our leadership program is leading yourself. Right. Leading others and teams, and leading the business. So a lot of leaders just focus on leading the business and a bit on leading the teams. But actually the first point is leading yourself. Because unless you are in optimal leadership health, you don't have a cat in a hell's chance of leading the business or the people and the teams well. So that old adage of putting your own oxygen mask on first is so true. You have to be in tip-top mental, physical, emotional condition to lead a business, particularly in this day and age. I mean, God, it moves so fast that you need a bit of support.
And again, through your experience, and you would have seen quite a lot of this, and maybe people suffering burnout but not recognizing
it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So one of the signs of burnout that people don't think immediately is burnout is they lose their mojo around their business, and they don't want to do it anymore, and they're a bit fed up, and they kind of have to drag themselves to the business, and they begin to resent it. I mean, that's one of the early signs of burnout before you get into any physical, stomach ache, headache, joint ache, weight gain, weight loss. They're all contributing, building that kind of eventual collapse, because burnout leads to eventual just falling over. Your body in the end just goes, right, you've not listened to me, I'm just going to knock you over.
Right.
And that's what your body does, and it'll keep giving you signs until you listen to it. Most of us ignore those signs, but actually you have to listen to the early signs and take action. Yeah.
In terms of your coaching and leadership programs, I mean, NLP obviously is a crucial part of that. You gave a great example in part 1 of our interview of a very simple, innocuous question that had a profound impact. Have you any other examples like that in business you could share?
Yeah. So what are the easiest questions I ask? So I usually work with boards. Okay. So the business owner and the board, and I'll say, right, what do you want? And they'll tell me about numbers and blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, no, what do you want?
Right.
And they'll go, oh, I've never thought about that. I go, well, what are you building this business for? What purpose are you building this business? There's that question again.
Yes.
And often they've forgotten.
Hmm.
And they don't know. And I'll say, well, look, it's a vehicle to give you what you want in your professional and personal life. And unless you define what those things are, you could have your ladder against completely the wrong wall. And I see many business owners getting to the end of their business life going, well, I didn't really want to end up here. Well, the decisions you made 10, 15 years ago meant that you ended up here. So I'd like to get in and go, well, let's make better decisions now, which are directed towards what you actually want for you, your family, your friends, your relationships, your colleagues. Let's build that picture out, and then we'll work on the strategy of the business. So that's a very holistic way of doing it. And it's a great NLP question. What do you want?
Yeah, and I think that's a fascinating one. I mean, you tend to work with boards and larger companies. I do something similar, not to the same level as you do with SMEs, who A, wouldn't have the same budgets, and B, getting access to people could be quite difficult. But I suppose one of the questions I'm always interested in for them is, as you said, why are you doing this? Like, you've got a choice. You're starting a business now. And in 30 years' time, are you prepared to forego family, friends, relationships, just to build a pot of money? And something you can't buy back at some future point. I think a lot of business people fail to understand that. I'm sure you come across it all the time.
Yeah, and you can build a business happily, contentedly, and joyfully. And it doesn't mean to say it's not hard work, but you can build a business in that way. And one of the phrases I use when I'm training other coaches and consultants is the juice is in the journey.
Yes.
So the learning, the experience, the joy, the pleasure, the heartache is in the journey. The destination, you've got to know where you're heading, but it's not the be all and end all. You've got to be enjoying the journey about 80% of the time. You can't enjoy it 100% of the time.
Well, this is it. I mean, you've discovered it, and thank goodness I have as well. We're both involved in radio, which we do free of charge, but we do it for a love and passion.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a bit obsessed with podcasts, Alec.
Again, where can people find out more about your podcasts?
So our podcast is called The Entrepreneurial Journey. Right. And it's everywhere, Spotify, on the Apple Podcasts, everywhere, basically. You find it on our website, tricres.com. I'm on LinkedIn. It's all over LinkedIn. Yeah, it's really hard to miss us, in fact.
And just tell our audience just a bit about that, what they can expect on these podcasts.
So I take people through the point at which they decide to start their business and what led to that, and what it is they do for their clients and customers, and why they're doing that, and how it's gone horribly wrong and what they've learned from that, and how it's gone well and what they've learned from that. And we a bit like you, we end up talking about some personal things too. And I always ask them where the business is heading, where they're going to take it, because I'm fascinated by that. And then I always ask them about the personality of their business or the character of their business, which usually stumps them at the end. It's my Columbo question. Right. But you get some great answers. You get some really good answers.
Yeah, fantastic. I suppose in the sort of 2.5 minutes we've got left, what next for Rebecca Bonnington?
Okay. So my purpose for Tricres is to make it happen for every ambitious business on the planet. And my vision, my big 10-year kick-ass vision, is to build the world's most successful business consulting and coaching business. And my definition of success is to have somebody on the side of a hill in Nepal using our content, which is all online, to help them build their business. And we're doing that by training other business consultants and coaches to deliver our methodology and our way of working, so that more people benefit from great culture in business, and have happier, nicer places to work for everybody.
All right. Can't say that's wishy-washy. That's fairly clear. All right.
It is. Yeah, well, if I'm going to teach that clarity, I've got to have it myself, haven't I?
Yes, we expect so. And again, in I suppose about the last minute and a half, 2 minutes we've got, would you like to share with the audience any sort of tips that you think would be of benefit for them going forward?
Yeah, so a few wise words from people that I've learned from. The more people you serve, the more money you make.
All right.
Give more value than you receive in payment.
Good.
And share what you know when you helping other people climb up, and there's enough for everyone. Here's the big one. There is enough for everybody. You know, there are millions of coaches and consultants. There is more than enough work for all of us. So share and collaborate, and you'll do a whole lot better. And the biggest one is just keep going. Focus on, create that big 10-year vision that gets you dead excited, and just keep going. You might veer off path, that's okay. You might have to change how you do it, but just keep going.
I think there's a key thing you put in there, and I'm often asked because I have from time to time coaches and consultants on, which is part of my life, and they're saying, you're bringing on the opposition, you know, competitors. And I'm saying, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I think there's plenty to go around. So I think you and I are on the same page with that one, all right.
I mean, just loads to go around. Yeah, have that abundant mindset. I know it's very hippie to say so, but we create more money all the time. It you know, the economies across the world have only ever grown. We have blips where we go backwards for a bit, but fundamentally we grow. So there's more than enough.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
And finally, just remind people where they can find out more about you.
So you can track me down on LinkedIn, Rebecca Bonnington, or you can go to tricres.com, tricres.com, and you can track me down there, or the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. So
listen,
yes,
that's a great way to finish the show. Thanks very much, Rebecca Bonnington, for coming into the You and Your Business studio.